so many people really are reporting that they're struggling right now with social media. Perhaps you aren't getting the views and the reactions and so forth that you had in the past, or maybe you are getting a lot of engagement, but it isn't driving sales. Well, either way, we want to turn your social media into a revenue generator. And I can't think of anybody better to help do that than Louise McDonnell. She's from sellonsocial.media and a good friend. And she's the author of Facebook Marketing and has a yearly annual planner for social media. And of course, speaks worldwide and an agency, you have an academy, and you work with clients one-on-one as well as companies, and you've kind of done it all in the social media space, and you and your clients are still succeeding with social media. So, Louise, why isn't social working for most people anymore?
Well, it's an excellent question, Ross. And you know what? If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Mhm.
And it's not easy. And what I would say is that if you're a coach or a consultant and you're selling a service, it's even harder again. So, selling a service online is quite different to selling a product because people have to buy into the person who's selling the service because they cannot separate the delivery of that service from the person delivering it. And I worked with lots of businesses over the years. I've helped lots of businesses succeed, but I see common mistakes that people make time and time again when it comes to using social media. And then I get quite disheartened for people because they say, well, it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, it does work. You just got to follow a particular process to get it to work.
So, what are a few of the things that the people for whom social is working for are doing so that they're having business success?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, first of all, if you're selling a high ticket item online, so anything over $2,000 is considered high ticket. So whether that's your starting point or whether that's your, what your package is that you're selling, anything that's a high ticket, it's what does not work. Okay, is that you go onto your social media and you create a post or you create a paid ad and you promote that service and you say, here's my new service, please sign up. That just doesn't work. Instead, what we have to do is we have to have a different approach when it comes to selling services online. And what the businesses that are doing, that are getting results, they're all following this process that I'm going to share with you here today. So, and what I would say is, regardless of what you're selling, okay, if you follow this process, I guarantee you will get results. I absolutely
Wow.
guarantee that. Yeah. So, so the starting point, Ross, is to be very clear on what you want to achieve. So, if you're a coach or consultant, again, if you don't have that shiny product that you can say, here's the product, here's what it looks like, here's what it feels like, here's a photo of it, here's a video of it, here's the characteristics of it, here's what the benefits of it. Okay, if you're selling a service, but if you're not 100% clear on what it is you're selling, how much of it you want to sell, by when, um, you're already on the back foot. Okay, so first of all, you have to have the clarity for what it is that you're selling. And then everything else in your campaign will come from that. Okay, so that's for me the starting point. And I work with lots of brands, I work with lots of large businesses, I work with smaller size businesses, I work with people who are outsourcing to people on their team or outsourcing to agencies. And that is always the starting point. We get very clear on what it is we want to achieve in the campaign. Because if you're just on social media posting,
Mhm.
you could just spend a huge amount of time and achieve nothing. You could even grow your followers. I've had people come to me at events going, Louise, I have 30,000 followers. I've had videos that have been seen by hundreds of thousands of people, but I'm not generating any business. And if they're
Right,
not,
right.
these are the steps they need to follow. So that's the first step.
And I think also one of the things that gets in the way for people is they don't have any sort of flow of what they're posting. So it's like, I got to just feed the beast. I got to just feed the beast. So when you give them some clarity on that, now it puts into really into focus everything that they're going to do going forward.
That's exactly it. So the goal is going to dictate the content, the type of content, the schedule of the content. It's going to dictate even more than content, but being very clear on what you want to achieve is the starting point. The second thing that people need to get clarity on is their core messages. Okay, so in order to understand, in order to be able to communicate clearly what your core messages are, first of all, you have to understand what problem you're solving, what pain you're solving, and who you're solving it for, and why you should be the person to solve that pain or problem for that person. So getting clear on your messaging is extremely important as well, Ross. And you can be very active on social media, but if you don't have this clarity around your messaging, or if your messaging isn't persuasive enough, then you will find again, you could spend a lot of time.
Mm.
And what happens then is people get, they just get fed up and they stop. So getting clear on your messaging is not easy. Okay. But if you can get some clarity around your messaging and it's aligned with your goals, you're onto a winner.
And then you can go right out and start selling with ads and with every post you make, or is there a few other things you need to do? Like how long or where are we in the process after those two steps? Without, I know we don't have time to get into every nook and cranny of this, but just in a general sense, like, are there other things you have to go through before you start your call to action or your big ask to buy that high ticket item?
Yes. So the next step that I would encourage people to think about is that I kind of touched on it already, is the consistency.
Hmm.
So if you have posted 3 times on your LinkedIn and you haven't achieved your goals, you haven't tried long enough. And I think people just don't realize the time frame that it's going to take in order for them to start to see results. So again, if you're very clear on your messaging and it's aligned to your goals and you're showing up consistently, I would say you need to be testing for at least 3 months before you're going to test and see if what you're doing is having an impact, because it takes time to gain traction.
And
So
how
that's a,
often would you put out that, like, let's say you're posting, I don't know, once a week or 3 times a week on LinkedIn. How often would you actually put in that call to action to, buy my $2,000 product? Or would
oh,
you wait 3 months before you even put the ask out there?
you see, the buy my $2,000 product just doesn't work.
So you should be having smaller steps, smaller conversions along the way.
Micro yeses.
Hmm.
It'll never work to go and say, and by the way, I've got this shiny new service. Would you like some? That
Right,
just
right,
doesn't work. Just
right.
doesn't work.
So that's why we do lead magnets and free offers and things like that.
Exactly. So that would be, so my next step would be that you need to be reaching, okay, you need to show up consistently, but you also need to be reaching enough people. Okay, so if you're on LinkedIn, as you know, we had a discussion. We're both in love with LinkedIn at the moment.
Right.
There's some fairly decent organic reach that you can still achieve on LinkedIn. So you have to be reaching enough people. You got to think your click-through rates, all that's like, if your click-through rate on a post is 2% and you're reaching a few thousand people, do the maths. You still need to reach quite a few people for it to have an impact. If you're on different platforms, maybe you're coaches or consultants active on Facebook and Instagram, then your meta ads can be really effective with the right messaging and the right offer. Again, for a micro, yes, rather than buy my service.
Mm.
Okay. TikTok ads as well are really effective. LinkedIn ads only tend to be effective if you have a ticket offer that's over $10,000. Okay. So yeah, so you need to be reaching enough people, and just as you said there, need to have a lead magnet that is going to attract your ideal customer.
And that's what your first meta ad should be, or all your meta ads should be towards smaller yeses, and then get somebody into your ecosystem and then uh, give them an opportunity later to buy.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got to think about it. Somebody who doesn't know you,
Hmm.
like somebody who has never heard of you, they don't know anything about you. You could offer them a free consultation and they probably won't take it up because they're like, but sure, I don't know who you are.
Right.
I don't know if it's worth my hour spent talking to you because I don't know if you're going to help me. So again, that's why we have the concept of micro yeses. Make it easy for somebody to say yes. And maybe that
Right.
first yes is I'll follow you. Maybe that first yes is I'll like your post. And it's a relationship that you nurture because you and I know, Ross, if you want to sell somebody a high ticket item, they have to know, like, and trust you. And that's
Right.
the real advantage of social media marketing is that we have the opportunity to get consistently in front of our ideal customer. So maybe we get their attention initially and then they connect and follow or connect with us. Then they'll watch us for a while. And then they'll be making up their mind as to whether can this person actually help me achieve my goals?
So where besides LinkedIn would you say are the the biggest opportunities right now, if there are, on other platforms, and how important is it to have paid traffic as a part of your online mix?
It really depends on who you're trying to reach and where they're hanging out. If your target audience is on LinkedIn, well, that's where you need to be. If your target audience are hanging out on TikTok, well, that's where you need to be. And when it comes to a paid strategy, I know what does not work is like, here's my shiny service, buy it. That will not work. It's also coming up with the micro yeses and to integrate those into your campaigns. And sometime a micro yeses, maybe it's a nice reel or it's a nice video or it's a nice carousel post, which is really not about you, but it's about your ideal customer and helping them. Or sometimes it might be a testimonial from a customer who's saying, yeah, I hit my sales target for the year in March because I worked with Louise.
So there
Okay.
may be no call to action or conversion attached to it. It may be just using the tools that, say, Meta has to get that messaging and that social proof out there so that the next time you do want to have a lead magnet or have a small ticket item, you've sort of warmed people up to the possibility of saying yes. Is that how you're looking at it when you say, like, you're putting something out for people to consume, not so much for them to have to answer or say yes to?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's building those micro yeses into a campaign so that there is a start, a middle, and an end. And that campaign has a goal, and that campaign has an ideal customer. That campaign has core message, and that
Hmm.
campaign has a lead magnet and is, reaching, there's a traffic reaching enough people. And then after that, you look and you analyze the performance to make sure you're getting the micro yeses, as
Right.
many micro yeses as you can get.
What AI tools, if any, are you using to speed your time to market with social media?
So, of course, I'm using like ChatGPT. I love it.
Hmm.
I just on my own podcast, the Social Media Takeaway, I just interviewed Andy Cristodina,
Oh
and
yeah.
he was excellent. So he spoke about creating using ChatGPT to create a buyer persona, and then to analyze your lead magnets, your landing pages, your social media posts, your newsletters, everything that you write. Say, how will my persona, whoever the name that ChatGPT gives the name, how
Right.
will they, please analyze this and tell me, fill in the gaps, or tell me, if it will appeal to them. So I'm using ChatGPT. From that perspective, I find it very useful. We use descript.com to do our video editing. It's that tool has saved us a huge amount of time. What other AI tools are we using? I have to say, I'm not a fan of AI image or video creation tools, so generative
Right.
tools. So I just find that you're better off to show your face on social media, even if you don't feel great that day, or you feel your hair is a bit messy, or you feel you could be looking better, you're still going to have more of an impact than an AI created version of you.
How are you using ChatGPT? Are you using it to actually create content or more for feedback and analysis of existing content?
Yeah, I don't really like the way ChatGPT writes, to be honest. It just totally is not on it doesn't ever get my tone. I don't really like the way it creates content at all. So I would use it to check the quality of the content that I've created against my buyer personas. I do. I started doing that. I find it excellent. I would use it again when we get the scripts from my podcasts. We would use it to um, create blog posts, but I would be, I'd be like, please use the same tone, please use the same language. What are the main points? And then, what advice did Ross give on the particular point relating to? And then I will still probably rewrite it after that again. So I use it for a lot for dealing with transcripts in my coaching. So in my coaching programs, I record the group coaching sessions, and I might have seven or eight people in the call, but then afterwards I'll go, what advice did I give to Ross about what he needs to do between now and next week? And I'll give you, um, again, it's a very useful list of what you need to focus on. So you're focused, and I know what you need to be focusing on
Right,
for the
right.
next time I meet you. What else do we use? What else do we use it for? I would use it for ideas, so I want to come up with a poll for LinkedIn about this topic, suggest 10 ideas or so it's really good for that. I just find that it absolutely makes me create better quality content, although I don't ask it to create the content. And it makes me definitely, I get through way more work in the day now. Because even when I'm tired, I can do work effectively. My
Right.
favorite prompt, my favorite prompt is check syntax and grammar. So if I write something, just get it to check the syntax and grammar. So, I know that I don't have to get anyone else to proof it or, because, when you're writing your own stuff, you don't see the mistakes. Another thing we did recently for a lead magnet we created, it was a guide, and again, this is something that I just find very useful. Again, upload the PDF to ChatGPT and say, check the formatting, check for inaccurate, not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not inaccuracies, but in inconsistencies. Check for
Right.
inconsistencies in the formatting. So sometimes you put a capital letter, then sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have full stops and bullet points, sometimes you don't. So it'll tell you all, where you need to fix your document. So it just makes you way more efficient.
Sounds good. Where can people find you if they'd like to work with you or learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so you'll find me on LinkedIn. So you'll find me under Louise McDonnell, or linkedin.com/in// Louise MacD Social. You'll also find me on Instagram. You'll find me on Facebook. You'll find me on TikTok. You'll find me on my website, sellonsocial.media.
Sounds great. Thanks for spending a few minutes and sharing your ideas on how we can turn social media from likes and clicks and maybe some activity into a business generator and a way to really drive more sales for our businesses.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure.